So Leon Edwards lost again against Carlos Prates, and honestly, Leon Edwards is pretty cooked. Now, this loss said a lot about him because previously his sort of excuses was, yeah, I'm fighting wrestlers, I can't wrestle, whatever. Right? He then fights Carlos Prates, and Carlos Prates puts it on him and takes him out in the second round, I believe. Just puts him on his ass and knocks him out. And you know, in those first two losses against Sean Brady and Bilal, you could see he almost got broken. You know, it was a point where, you know, dude's got literally nothing to offer these guys. And these guys aren't interested in striking with him. Even then, Leon Edwards isn't a high volume striker. He's not the type of guy who's going to go out there and put it on you. He's a guy who pretty much just does enough to win rounds. And if you don't engage in the striking with him and you just go for wrestling, then you can out wrestle him not quite easily. Well, Bilal and Sean Brady did it quite easily, if we're being honest. But like I said, he's got two bad losses there in terms of dominant losses. Like, they weren't controversial, they weren't even close, they weren't competitive. All those guys easily beat Leon Edwards. And when we got to the scorecards, we weren't thinking, oh, maybe Leon Edwards is going to win this. No, not at all. So then he fights Prates and he's saying, okay, finally a guy who I can strike with, you know. And then he goes out there, in terms of his footwork, was sloppy, didn't offer a ton of resistance, and then ultimately the knockout punch was a fundamental flaw from Leon Edwards in terms of his footwork. He made his feet too narrow, got hit by Prates at a perfect time, and that was it. That was all she wrote for him. Now, again, another loss for Leon Edwards, and sort of shown that, okay, the thing is, the knockout itself is whatever, because anyone can get knocked out. But it was really the nature of the performance, where he felt a bit timid. It's weird, because Leon Edwards has sort of always been like this. And that's the thing, he's sort of always been like this. Even in the first Usman fight, he was pretty timid. He was losing to Usman. You know, Usman was winning him. He then threw that massive head kick and, you know, won the fight there. But he rematched Usman, and Usman clearly just was finished mentally from that loss. Like, took a lot out of him. And even then, Usman's gone on to rebound. But do you know what I mean? It was a bad performance for Usman to come back to. Really didn't turn up and made it look pretty easy for Leon Edwards in that rematch. But I say all that to say that Leon Edwards is looking now like how Usman looked in that second fight, where you're timid. And it looks like you go into the fight thinking, okay, I can knock this guy out. I've trained really hard. And you go out there and you don't knock the guy out, and you're like, yeah, this ain't for me. I don't fancy it now. And Bilal broke his will. Sean Brady broke his will. And Carlos Prates physically broke him and put him out and put him on his ass. In my opinion, if you're losing, I don't want to say if you're losing to the likes of Carlos Prates, because Carlos Prates is one of my favourite fighters to watch, and he's super high level, a very dangerous striker. But Carlos Prates was ranked number 9. So what? Who's Leon Edwards going to fight next? With someone who's barely top 15? Unranked guys? He was a world champion. He's now fighting unranked guys. And I saw from Kamaru Usman's small payday for his comeback fight against Buckley that, honestly, if I was a guy like Leon Edwards and I was getting offered to fight guys, you know, young up-and-coming guys who are unranked or hungry, looking to make their name off me, and I'm not getting paid that much money, I'd probably retire if I was him. No doubt he got some big paydays when he was champion. That rematch with Usman, he would have got a nice payday, I'd imagine, for that. Headlining the pay-per-view. But, yeah, I mean, honestly, in my opinion, Leon Edwards probably should call it a day now. You know, that was 3 bad losses now. Of course, that third one against Prates being the worst. Because you can justify to yourself losing to Bilal. And honestly, if you're going to lose to Bilal, you're probably going to lose to Sean Brady as well. So you can justify that. But getting slept like that to Carlos Prates, again, you know, some people who really want to cope, they'll even justify that by saying, you know, Carlos Prates is a big welterweight, big puncher, all these things. But Leon Edwards is supposed to be this elite striker where finally he's getting given a striker and he can, you know, make the most of it. No, bro. No. He didn't make the most of it. It was ass handed to him. He got put to sleep. So, another loss for Leon Edwards. He probably should call it a day, but like so many of these MMA fighters, they never do call it a day, and they keep going and keep going and keep taking damage and keep getting stopped and keep losing and keep getting smaller and smaller paydays. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Leon Edwards losing his 3rd fight in a row. What do you think's next for him? Do you think he should retire, or do you think he can carry on fighting? And if he is to carry on fighting, who do you think Leon Edwards should fight next? Let me know in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag. Peace.